year was 2029. The graduates of 2019, having been unable to make any decisions whatsoever about their own reunion, all were set to come home to witness something they never imagined they'd live to see. Miss Wilcott was finally retiring, after years and years of, I think I'm going to stay one more year.
Being that the graduates never could organize a time to meet up all together outside of school, Jacob, who always did love being in charge, decided for a lot of them. They were going to meet up at St. Paul's School, which coincidentally was the last place they all saw each other.
In true fashion, the first to arrive was Tori, who had flown all the way from her millionaire's condo in Tokyo, courtesy of the entirely water-fueled helicopter she had invented. Tori had gone on to become a world-renowned scientist, having hit her jackpot after her invention of a grease-killing compound, which she claims was inspired by her classmates from high school. She then moved to Japan, where she adopted no less than half a dozen stray kitties, none of which she would let Grace name when she heard the news, for reasons never understood.
Unfortunately, because Tori was so early, she was locked out. But she didn't have to wait long because the next to arrive was Sean, his latest girlfriend attached to his hip as usual, and he easily solved this issue. Sean got them into the school the exact way they had left 10 years earlier, though the window of Miss Griffin's classroom. While the two waited for their fellow graduates to arrive, they discussed what they'd done after high school over a cup of hot chocolate. Sean, who had plans to become a heavy equipment operator, actually went to become a highly respected mechanic alongside Brandon. However, because he couldn't bear to be away from his girlfriend for too long, he decided to stay on the coast, where he now works at Napa. Unsurprisingly, he spends most of his time fixing his own vehicles.
The next grad to arrive was Josh, or you could say he'd never actually left. Tori and Sean were interrupted from their storytelling by a loud snore from the back of the classroom. And there was Josh, exactly where they'd left him a decade ago. They hadn't even noticed him in the room, not that that was anything new. He had inevitably fallen asleep at Miss Griffin's desk, waking up with the proclamation of, I was working. That answered what he'd been doing for the past 10 years. Maybe he finally got enough sleep. Or not. A thump was heard as his head hit the desk once more.
They saw the next graduate before he even got to school. Brandon arrived fast walking up the road with his biggest kind of grin on his face, all decked out in hot pink and sparkling clean. It then became apparent who inspired Tori's invention. He entered the school for the first time to clean his hands, a monumental moment. Brandon explained how he'd had much more luck than Sean after they finished their schooling, having opened his own garage where he'll fix anything he can put in front of him. Jokingly, people refer to it as a crack house, not a drug kind.
Sky and Grace showed up next in a rough-looking van, covered in flour and looking stressed. Not much had changed, except, as the others couldn't help but point out, Sky had made it on time. The girls explained how after college, and realizing that they could probably use some serious counseling to deal with their stress, they decided to open a cafe together. Exam seasons had given them plenty of experience. Unfortunately, business was going slowly, since Grace refused to sell anything that was slightly less than exactly the way she wanted it to be. Luckily, Sky still managed to eat enough for 12 people, but still stay thin. Someone had to take care of the leftovers.
The class can't help but laugh when the next graduate arrives, a permanent suntan in the shape of those sunglasses he could never take off. Around his eyes, as usual, he was in a huff. Having just read the article Grace had written denouncing harems, being a regular connoisseur of the ladies, he took offense, so that was normal. After he cooled down, Jake told them his success in carpentry, explaining how he had businesses with locations countrywide. Of course, he oversaw all of them. They called him the big boss.
Last to arrive was Mallory, who appeared out of the woods across the street by Judy's, twigs and moss in her hair, her dogs on her heels. The class was not surprised. After graduating, Mallory had completely immersed herself in nature, moving to her cabin where nobody could tease her or call her short anymore. She hadn't blushed in years. The first thing she said to her classmates after a decade, "I'm starving. I only had 4 Eggos for breakfast."
And so the graduates, 10 years older, but no wiser, all arrived back home, only to crash Miss Wilcox's retirement party in time to hear the end of one of her typically long monologues, which concluded with the words, "Next year will be my last year."